It's a terrifying story out of Atlanta, Georgia, where one woman heroically fought off several paramedics who were trying to force her into medical debt after enduring a car crash. We've got the details on how this woman was able to fend off her would-be assailants and what you should watch out for if you hear sirens headed your way. From the Onion and Onion Public Radio, I'm Leslie Price, and this is The Topical, the premier news podcast that sets out to find new ways every day to make you feel more terrible and anxious about the world than you did the previous day. We're only a few months into the show, but so far I think we're killing it, so stay with us.
I'm on the side of the road, bleeding from a cut on my forehead, and next thing I know, this ambulance is speeding up next to me, and I'm like, this is it. I'm gonna be taken to some hospital that doesn't take my insurance, and I'm gonna get battered by medical bills for the next 10 years.
The voice you just heard is that of 27-year-old Denora Salcedo, who was recently confronted by two emergency responders who tried to drag her into a $500 ambulance ride. Thankfully, Denora was able to courageously fight them off before they could force her into medical debt. But not everyone ends up as lucky as Denora did. For more on this story and this alarming trend, we're joined by OPR's Jenna Resnick. Hello, Jenna.
Hi, Leslie.
Jenna, you were able to sit down with Denora after the incident. What did she tell you?
After being involved in a car accident, she said she was immediately cornered by those emergency responders who tried to coerce her into being taken to a, quote, safe hospital, where she could get treatment for her broken leg and bloody cuts. But as she told me, she didn't fall for their scheme.
They were like, come on, get in the ambulance, we want to help you. But I knew all they wanted to do was put me through an expensive hospital stay, full of x-rays, emergency surgeries, and antibiotic prescriptions I couldn't afford.
Oh, what you could have been billed for is almost too much to think about.
When they tried to give me a shot that they said would calm me down and stop the pain, my measly life savings passed right before my eyes. It was horrifying.
How were you able to wrangle free from them?
Luckily, I was carrying mace and was able to spray it in both their eyes when they told me a CT scan I might need could cost up to $5,000.
My God. How are you now?
I almost bled to death trying to find an urgent care center, and I have a pretty nasty scar from the wound that didn't heal properly. I'm just hoping that walking on an untreated broken leg won't do any real damage.
Yeah, fingers crossed for Denora. Hopefully she'll just have a weird limp at the most for the rest of her life.
Right.
Now, are these types of run-ins common?
According to Regina Hornsby, a former police officer turned self-defense instructor, these situations happen all the time. And unfortunately, not everyone is able to get away free of medical bills like Denora did. Here's how Regina explains it.
Often when someone is approached by an EMT, they don't realize they're in financial danger until it's too late. They think, what's 1 or 2 stitches gonna hurt? But the next thing you know, you're getting x-rays, MRIs, staying for overnight observation, and suddenly you're paying for that one bad decision for the rest of your life.
What are some tips for those out there walking around with life-threatening injuries who can't afford the risk of being taken to a hospital?
First, there's safety in numbers. Try to travel with a friend who can apply pressure to a wound while you call around to find a cheap urgent care clinic. And if you are alone, slowly bleeding to death, and you spot an ambulance approaching you, duck into an open store. Or better yet, a pharmacy where you can ask for help finding a tourniquet. Finally, sometimes it's just smarter to take a taxi to where you need to go. A $100 bill to clean out all the blood you might spill inside the taxi is much cheaper than what an ambulance ride could run you.
Right. When in doubt, just bleed out in the taxi and hope you get there in time. Good tips. Thanks, Jenna.
Thanks, Leslie.
That's OPR's Jenna Resnick. Back in a moment. After a surge of user complaints calling for the company to take responsibility, TikTok CEO Kevin Mayer has released a video apologizing for the popular social media app, which has inadvertently given a platform to thousands of theater kids. 13-year-old OPR social media expert Kelsey Davis joins me now. Welcome, Kelsey.
Hi, Leslie. I'm 32.
And for some reason, that's worse. So why this total 180 from TikTok?
The CEO is responding to pressure from TikTok users since the platform has been flooded with millions of videos showing insufferable high school drama club students not only lip-syncing popular musicals, but mashing different power ballads together and creating showy new dance routines. Here's what Mayer said in the video.
We do not condone this harmful indulging in theatrical melodrama or the disturbing cries for attention in these videos. This kind of over-the-top style of expression is not what our platform is intended to be used for. TikTok is a place for non-lame self-expression by hot, popular underage kids dancing to top 40 radio. And we truly apologize for all those offended by these attempts to force mediocre one-person reenactments of Dear Evan Hansen or duets of the song Popular from Wicked down anyone's throats.
That sounds easier said than done, considering the prevalence of the videos and the gusto with which the offenders keep posting them.
Exactly right. These theater kids perpetuate shameful musical theater culture, especially by co-opting the types of videos created on TikTok by significantly cooler kids.
Yeah.
For instance, a complicated dance challenge that should be performed to a Missy Elliott song is instead being performed to a song from Legally Blonde the musical. Then, of course, there are the more explicit split-screen duets promoting admittedly skillful levels of vibrato from Les Miserables.
Right. Now, I understand we have one such video in our possession that we're going to play, so I'd like to issue a warning that some of the earnest preening you're about to hear may be incredibly disturbing to some listeners.
That's right. This is from one dangerously heartfelt hashtag challenge in which theater kids sing the names of random musicals and strike a related pose for each one.
Chicago, Billy Elliot, Cats, West Side Story, Matilda,
Oh, God, turn it off. Oh.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's evidence that these videos may be encouraging more children to record their own narcissistic performances. I spoke with parents Linda and Steve Baker in Fort Wayne, Indiana, who are concerned their son Tyler is being radicalized by the videos.
525,600. He locks himself up in his room all day watching those videos. I heard him writing his own original libretto where he plays several characters. Can't he just dance to Megan Thee Stallion like a hot kid?
My son has always been a dork, but I didn't think it would get this bad. Tyler! Hey, buddy, do you want to try doing a TikTok prank on your sister?
Not until she agrees to harmonize with me on Fun Home.
Oh, absolutely terrible. So what is TikTok doing to slow the prevalence of these videos?
TikTok CEO Kevin Mayer says the company has already updated its terms of use and adjusted its algorithm to detect, quote, spring awakening duets or Lin-Manuel Miranda references of any kind whatsoever. Here's Mayer again.
We've also begun the process of hiring sincerity moderators to assess inappropriate cringiness. That's going to be an incredibly taxing and traumatic job, so we want our employees to know that they will be given plenty of mental health and cultural resources, like counseling and professional artistic performances, to ease the trauma these theater kid videos inflict. We'll also be reporting the most embarrassing TikToks to the local school bullies to address these kids' issues firsthand.
The internet truly brings out the worst in people. Thank you, Kelsey.
Sure thing.
That's OPR's Kelsey Davis. Back in a moment. COVID-19, police brutality, the 2020 presidential election. We're living through turbulent times here in the U.S., characterized by chaos, violence, and widespread uncertainty. And now, as if things weren't bad enough, experts today have confirmed that snakes are still slithering around out there. OPR's Marcy Hammond joins us now with more. Marcy, please tell us there's been some kind of mistake.
Well, I hate to say it, Leslie, but this is true. On top of everything we're dealing with right now, snakes are in fact alive and kicking. Dr. Stanley Mendez, a biologist from Stanford University, shared the terrible news at a press conference earlier today. Take a listen.
A team of our top researchers has discovered that snakes still exist. These legless creeps continue to slink through gardens, lurk under rocks, and drag their lousy bodies across American soil. At first we thought perhaps they were just a part of a garden hose or a really big worm. But unfortunately, they are definitely still snakes.
Oh, man. Are they sure? Because a buddy of mine killed one a few years ago that was living under his shed. That didn't take care of the problem for good?
I'm afraid not. It looks like snakes are pretty much here to stay.
It's like this nation just can't catch a break.
You're telling me. Now, snakes certainly aren't the most pressing issue right now, what with unemployment skyrocketing, ICE, gun violence, the opioid epidemic, climate change.
Products that promise to restore your hairline but just make your scalp tingle.
But remembering that snakes are out there too, watching and waiting. It just doesn't help at all.
Exactly. A pandemic is one thing, but a pandemic and snakes, it's all just too much.
And with virtually no legislation moving forward in the House or Senate, many Americans are feeling just as helpless on the issue. Here's single mother Amanda Schumacher, who represents just one of millions struggling to cope.
Every day I wake up and wonder how I'm going to feed my children, how I'm going to afford it if I get sick, and are there any snakes outside? Even worse, what if there are snakes inside? Then what? Am I going to have to quit my job and fight off snakes full time?
Now that's heartbreaking. Marcy, are there any precautions we can take to avoid snakes, like, say, standing on a chair in the center of the kitchen?
Authorities are currently advising that anyone who sees a snake should be fully prepared to point and yell, "Snake!"
That's all? Isn't there anything else we can do?
Not really. I mean, if you want, you can take a picture with your phone to show everyone how gross it is.
And just when you thought 2020 couldn't get any worse, I guess our only hope at this point is that they all accidentally get stepped on.
That's right, Leslie. We'll just have to wait and see.
Hey, don't do that!
I'm sorry, Leslie.
Jesus Christ, I thought there was a snake in here for a minute. Do you think that's funny?
I thought it would be a fun way to end the story.
Well, it's not. This isn't some fucking joke.
Leslie,
Out of the studio. Out now.
I'm sorry.
Oh, this has been an OPR report. We'll be back in a moment. Jesus, give me the heebie-jeebies. If there was a news story not covered in today's episode of The Topical that you would like to hear about, well, you're going to have to go investigate it for yourself, because we're closing out today's show by answering some questions that were sent in by you, the listener, using the hashtag Leslie's Mailsack. Our first question comes to us from Colin on Twitter, who asks, "Hey Leslie, ever since you went to Italy and then shipped yourself back, I've been wondering, how is your syphilis now?" Unfortunately, Colin, I don't know what you're talking about. I have no recollection of any of the things you just mentioned, which I'm sure has nothing to do with the syphilis spreading throughout my bloodstream and infecting my brain. I do appreciate your concern, Colin, but if you kindly go back to minding your own damn business, it would be greatly appreciated. All right, our next question comes to us from Twitter user @Ruingon, who asks, tits or ass? Well, it's a little hard to tell from just your profile photo, but if I had to guess, I'd say that's your ass. Thanks for the question. Okay, and our last question today also comes to us from Twitter. Appleby Bathroom Pee-Pee Man writes, "Leslie, each day the listeners are graced by your velvety newsreader cadence, but we yearn to know more about the man behind the mic. Can you please detail your handsome facial features and hunky appearance for us?" Oh, well, I'd be happy to, Appleby Bathroom Pee-Pee Man, but unfortunately, that wouldn't be fair to our contestants. That's right, folks. We have a brand new contest starting today. We here at The Topical want to know what you think I look like. So let us know in the reviews on Apple Podcast and on social media how you envision your friend and host, Leslie Price. And if your description is, in my opinion, correct, you could win a chance to be an unpaid reporter in one of our episodes. So don't wait. Go describe my high cheekbones and unreceding hairline in the reviews now. And of course, we're not just a game show over here. We also still read some news every now and then. So don't forget to tune in to tomorrow's episode of The Topical, where we'll explore what it's like living on just $10 a day and why it's right for some people, but not for us. You won't want to miss it. We'll see you next time. The news doesn't stop just because this YouTube video has. For even more on all the worst things happening in the world right now, listen and subscribe to The Topical on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, you insatiable news freaks.